Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar on a smarter way to streamline construction projects. A couple quick reminders before we start. This webinar will be recorded and emailed out to you within a few days. It will also be available under our events page on the Microdesk website and on our YouTube channels. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions during our presentation, please type them into the questions box located near the bottom of the Go-To panel. A little bit about Microdesk. We are a leading AECO technology and consulting firm and Autodesk Platinum partner in the United States. In 2022, we joined the Symmetry team that allows us to expand our reach globally throughout Europe. We have over 200 dedicated consulting experts that assist with design, construction, and operations with the goal of working smarter and more sustainably. To start off, I would like to present our speakers today, Ramona Moore, our Construction Technology Implementation Manager at Microdesk, and Lisa Stein, a Partner Marketing Manager for Autodesk, who will go ahead and introduce themselves and kick off our agenda today.
Hi, everybody. Like she said, I'm Ramona Moore, the Construction Technology Implementation Manager here at Microdesk. Prior to becoming a consultant at Microdesk, I had a colorful 20-year career in construction that started as a designer and a trade partner and grew into project management at the GC level. I'm here today to discuss the tools, some of the tools that are available to help minimize the challenges associated with pre-construction and construction itself. Lisa?
Thanks, Ramona. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Stein, and as Amanda said, I am a Global Partner Marketing Manager at Autodesk, focused on our construction platforms. I also come from industry. I spent about 10 years as a structural engineer working in the very exciting world of electric utilities, and then made a move over to Autodesk, where I started as a sales executive, again, focused on electric utilities, spent a couple of years as a global named accounts technical solutions executive for the Autodesk Construction Cloud Solutions, and now am in this marketing role.
Today's agenda, we're going to talk about common issues with disconnect, which is going to highlight communication. We have the benefits of a common data environment, and you'll see that. And then finally, we're going to demo some of that common data environment that will help you see exactly what it is we're talking about. And then finally, at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. As we know, in construction, we all have to work as a team, yet the communication can be fragmented. It happens through so many different forms, including paper, which is the worst, right? More than 70% of the global construction industry is still working from traditional paper-based processes. As you well know, there's an added layer of complexity when we consider communication between different teams as well as internal.
All right, so I'm going to talk about some of the cons of not working in that collaborative environment that Ramona just talked about. So when we're not connected, we tend to miss key project information and deliverable dates. And that makes sense, right? Because we're not all working off the same system, the same information. And so information gets very, very siloed. We also run into schedule and budget overages, which also makes sense. Again, if we're working off of that siloed information, we're doing a lot of repetitive work, right? Because we're not connected. I'm not aware of any revisions that are being made. So maybe I'm over here working on one thing when we've actually revised that and made a totally different change on it. And that amounts to a lot of schedule and budget overages and just really not having a good handle on project progression, which then can affect, our organization's reputation, things like that. We are also working off of obsolete information. So this kind of goes back to all of the things I mentioned before. But again, when we're not connected, we're siloed. We might be sending things out via email. So I might be working off of something that I got, last month, But again, there are new versions of it that I just don't know. So so that again takes us back to that repetitive work. So just a big mess that's really easy to feel when we're not working in that connected environment. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so that's what happens when we're not connected, but what about when we're not collaborating? And to me, that means when we're not communicating. We don't have a lot of confidence that we're working off of that current information, right? If we're not actively collaborating and communicating as a team, then maybe only some of us are getting those updates. That again leads to that siloed communication in terms of those revisions. And this amounts to a very, very time-consuming process. You can imagine, and I'm sure that you have encountered, 4 different maybe sub-project teams that are living inside of a project. If we're all communicating separately and in a very siloed manner, it's very, very time-consuming for everybody to then come together and talk about all of the things that they've been working on. And also can be very disheartening when we learn that we're not all kind of working in sync, and we've got to go back and make some changes to things. Next slide, please. Okay, and lastly, in terms of cons and things that are pretty big frustrations, when we can't see project issues, right? So we've talked about not being connected in the same platform. We've talked about not communicating effectively. Now let's talk about project issues. Well, if I don't have transparency into project issues, they're not probably getting resolved because there's not a lot of accountability that's attached to those issues. We are often just sending somebody an email and saying, hey, here's some red lines, can you pick those up? But we don't have the assurance that those things are actually getting picked up because we're not logging all of those issues in the same space for all of the project stakeholders to have visibility into. So with that, there's no transparency into who's working on what the status is, if things are getting resolved. And we know that a lot of work depends on work that's been previously done. So maybe my mechanical folks are waiting for the civil issue to get picked up, but the mechanical folks don't have any insight or visibility into when those civil issues are actually getting resolved. So that just leads to a really big headache, a lot of redundant, repetitive work, a lot of wasted time and money, and yeah, overall, a lot of rework and just frustrations. So I will hand it over to you, Ramona. And Ramona, I think that you might be muted.
Oh, I apologize for that. So when we are connected and working together and we have insight to the project issues, teams become exponentially more successful. We're finding that we are able to save time on rework. We have confidence in the project data because of the idea of a single source of truth. There's increased communication, efficiency, and clarity. Projects are completed on time, and we strengthen our brand and win more work because of this transparency across the project. On that, why don't we jump into the next slide, which is the demo, so we can showcase some of how this works. Okay, so you can see here, this is the interface. We're in Docs, and you always check to make sure you're in the proper project. We're going to go into the Files section. It looks like it might have paused. Is it not playing? Oh, there it goes. Okay, so under the Docs section, we're going to go into the Files and navigate over into Contract Documents, Drawings, and open a PDF. Now remember, everybody's coming to the same spot to get the same information. So there's your single source of truth. Now, when you're viewing these, you have on the right your markup tools, which allow you to communicate across this PDF. You get your ideas out there. And again, you have your highlighters and your markups, and there's some shapes and text, and you can put all that on here So anybody that comes here will see that. Hit pause again. There we go. Okay, so anyway, so there's a markup on the page. We have an issues button. Ooh, it hung up again. Which is it's another form of communication. And the issue button, you can see there's a flyout that will allow you to select the type, and you can place it on the page. And you can see on the page there's already one there, the orange button. And we'll talk more about issues here in a little while. You can take measurements on the page based on a graphical, or 2 buttons, and you know what the measurement is. It calibrates just like it would in Bluebeam. Down along the bottom is your navigation tools, so you can pan and zoom in however you need to. You also have measurement, and you can jump to full screen. Now on the left gives you insight to what's going on in the PDF file itself. Your first one is your sheets and views. What this does is it allows you to see all the pages in the PDF itself. So everybody's got the same set that they're going to, and they're seeing the same drawings. Your next one is levels. That's something that comes along with elevation views, which we don't have here. And then you have layers. If your PDF does have layers, it allows you to do that. This is your list of markups. Any markups on that page will show up in this list. And finally, a list of any issues that are on the page. Again, keep in mind, everybody's seeing the same thing. These are all in the same location. Everybody has access. So when you click on that issue, you have a flyout here. And again, we'll go more into issues, but what this allows you to do is to assign it to someone with a due date. So there's some accountability there. One of the things I wanted to showcase was this call out. You're going to notice when you click on it, it's going to give you some information about what's going on with it and what it's linked to. And you can tell this by, you zoom in the upper right hand corner, you're going to see a little chain link. That means that there is something linked to this call out. So if you click on it, on the right hand side, you're going to get a flyout, and there's a links tab. On that tab, this is the really, really cool part, is you can click the RFI that's attached to that page, and it will actually jump you over to the RFI. So there's no, oh no, where's that email? Oh, nobody's out there, taping RFIs to a sheet like we used to do, trying to find it in a Dropbox or something somewhere. All this stuff is integrated. So there's a lot of accountability. There's no way, you can say, oh, I lost it. It's all right here. Okay. So we're going to close out a couple of these windows and go back to the original. And next, we're going to go over to the compare tool. This is another really great tool. You can see here we have 2 different pages that it's looking to compare, both in the same version of the PDF file. Sometimes you want to overlay like that. A lot of times, you can see this, page 1 and page 2. Mostly people want to overlay the same page. So we'll switch to version 1. So now you've got the same page, but 2 different versioning. So this goes back to the idea of single source of truth, in that every version of a drawing is kept here. So we click compare, and you can see it's going to come up as it's generating. One version is in red, one version is in blue. If things are identical, it's going to be black. So the only thing that's going to highlight is what's colored. So you can see here, there's a revision cloud and revisions in the right-hand title block. So this is an overlay. This is a true overlay. We have 2 drawings that we put one on top of the other. Okay. And the reason it's black again is because there's no other changes. There's another type of comparison, and this is the side-by-side comparison, and this is a big deal. You can take that middle bar and slide it right and left. Oops, slide it right and left, and you can do the comparison of the sheets that way, of each individual sheet. This is reminiscent of the days when you would have a set of drawings and you're literally flipping back and forth. This eliminates that. So again, you have your overlay and you have your side-by-side comparison tool. So we'll close on that. And we're going to move over into models. And this is really cool because not everybody's a Revit operator, but you want to have access to the Revit models. So we're going to go ahead and click on the Revit model, and you can see this again in the web viewer. And keep in mind, again, this is a single source of truth. You've got a couple of toolbars here. On the right, you have your selector, which will let you select individual things in the model. And then you have your issues button. Again, you can place issues based on whatever it is you're observing. And you can place them in the model and assign them and put a due date. So you have some accountability there. Across the bottom is, again, your navigation tools. These are very similar to what you do in a PDF. You can zoom in. You see me doing that here. And you can rotate to get a better view. And you can see the dot is moving around with it. That's an issue that's been placed in the drawing. There is some section planes that you can put in to help you view something in particular. You can rotate those or move them up and down, like you see here. And this gives you better insight to what's actually modeled. So if you have an MEPF model in here, you can really see what's going on. Now on the left, you have another toolbar that allows you to see what's going on inside this Revit file. You've got your sheets and views, very similar to what you saw with the PDFs, except you have 2D and 3D views. Now these are preset by your Revit user, but it does allow you to see what they're seeing. Next is levels, and this is live because this is a live model. And you can see by clicking on each one, it's actually moving the level up to be able to see portions of the project. And these levels, again, are set by your Revit modeler. I'm turning off the box, by the way. They're set by your Revit modeler, and it allows you to isolate those levels. So the important thing here is you don't have to be a Revit user to use the model, and it's a single source of truth because everybody's seeing this one thing in the same spot. Next, you have your issues list. If you click on that issues list, that item in the issues list, it will jump you to the location of the pin and the view that the person had when they created the issue. So you can zoom out and zoom in for better reference. But it does save that view so you can find it later or assign it to other people and they'll be able to come see what you had. The next one is your model browser. Very similar to what's going on in Revit as far as you can actually turn items off and on to help you view things that are in the model. So this is pretty helpful. Again, because all these models live here, everybody's seeing the same thing. This is extremely helpful. Okay. So we're going to jump back over to sheets and views. We looked at the 3D view. Now we're going to take a look at a 2D view. And you're going to see this looks very much like the PDF that we were working in before. It acts very much the same. On the right-hand side, you're going to have your markup tools here, and they work exactly the same. You have your issue button, so you can place an issue. And we're going to go ahead and place an observation issue. Okay, the minute you place that, you're going to get a flyout. It allows you to fill out what's going on, why the issue was there, watchers, you can assign it, due dates. Next, you have the measurement tool, and across the bottom, again, you have your navigation tools to be able to move around. On the left, you have your model browser. It does the same thing we just saw in the 3D. You're going to see I'll come down here and I'll turn the walls off again, just like I did in the 3D model. to help you visualize something, you can do that. You're going to have your markups listed here if there are any. There aren't any on this one. And again, your issues that we just placed will show up in this list. Okay, and if you click on it to edit it, you're going to get the flyout again, so that you can change, any aspect of that. All right. So now we're going to move on to permissions. Again, we're in the project that we want to be. We're in Docs. We're going to start at the project files level. This is the top level, the parent folder. If you click on the ellipses, you're going to see permission settings down here at the bottom, and you're going to get a flyout. Now you see here there are two. These are project admins. They're going to have managed rights to everything under the project file. Every single file, folder, everything. These are typically your account admins or your project admins, so you want them to have access to everything. But let's say you don't necessarily want somebody to have access to everything. You want limited access. So here you see Carly Critchlow has been added to the contract documents, and we wanted her to be able to have some permissions, but not full managed permissions. So we put her on create. Now we're going to drop down and we're going to look at some of the other permissions available. You can see there's a view only, there's create where she can do markups, but we say want her to be able to upload a file. So we would need to change her permissions to the next level up. There's also the edit permissions. So you can see how each one of these ratchets up. The difference between edit and manage is in manage, you can actually allow someone to add people into the folders and assign them permissions. Edit just allows you to edit what's in the folder, and then they come down. You always want to start with the lowest, like you can give everybody view only and then ratchet them up. So you see Carly now is able to upload a file. Okay. The next one, we are going to have a look. Did it stick again? It may have stuck. There we go. Okay. Okay, so she now has create where she can upload files. So the next one, this is our models file, if you remember, it has a 3D file in it. I only want her to be able to view. I don't want her to be able to do any markups or anything like that. So I've given her view access only and no other permissions. That's all she can do, just view. As we've gone on, through the project, I've decided, maybe she doesn't need access to this at all. I think it's stuck. So what we can do is we can come up here and you can actually remove her from this folder. What that does is it takes the folder out of her view completely. So not only will she not have access, she won't even see the folder itself. So right now under Carly's desktop, all she's going to see is contract documents. That's it. Okay. So now we're going to jump over to reviews, and reviews is exactly what it sounds like. This is a workflow that allows you to send out documents for review, and it does actually have a workflow associated with it to allow tracking of where a document is. You can see I'm an initiator, and I've sent it over to Gerald Maley, and what he'll see is he'll see this start review. Now I see it all because I'm a admin, but he'll see that. You can void this and you can export this at any point during the review process. Okay, now down here, this is where it shows whatever documents are linked to this review. And these are the documents that Jerry is going to be looking at. Again, it's assigned to Jerry Maley and he's got a due date. So you can see how powerful this is. This is a tracking tool, and this will be holding people accountable if they miss their deadline. You can see the progress on the right, and that stays with the file. So next we're going to move to transmittals, and transmittals are exactly what you think it is. It's a way of alerting people on the team that there has been something issued. In this case, I picked the RFI from earlier. This is the link that takes you to that RFI, or you can just select the RFI there and it'll open for viewing. So you can see how so many things are integrated here. And with this being the single source of truth, it's really difficult to say, one, I didn't get it, two, I got the wrong information. You know, it's all documented, so you can't miss that. And you can see on the right, there's the recipients. And finally, if they wanted to download whatever files are attached here, they can download it in a zip file. So next, we're going to jump over into issues. And if you remember, we placed some issues. This is your issue list. This will contain all your issues that you've created in the entire project. Some will be placed on drawings, some won't. You can see here, these are the ones that we saw earlier, placed on in a Revit file. Who they're assigned to, as well as a due date. And of course, there's the title. These are a little vague, but if you click on it, you can see all the information. All of this with a pencil can be changed. So if you needed to change who it was assigned to, you could do that. In this case, we're going to go ahead and click on the link, and you're going to see it's going to take us right over into that issue that we saw in the 3D model. It's taking a minute to regen, but there it is. I'm sure you remember seeing this issue just a little while ago when we talked about it. So that's it for issues. And I'm hoping you're seeing how with all these integrations and ways of assigning due dates, individuals, and having lots and lots of places to put comments, how this is going to unite the team a little bit better than loose emails and you know, spreading out across all the various forms of communication. The idea is to keep it all in one place, single source of truth. Okay, so we can move on now to the question and answer session.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Ramona. If you want to hop into your actual project, we had a couple of questions come in about the workflows itself, and I think it could be kind of cool to walk through those live. Okay, so while you're doing that, the first question, maybe you can talk to it while you're working on sharing your screen, but the first question is there a way to create custom issue types inside of the project?
Yes, there is. Okay, so in issues, you can come over here to the settings, and that will take you into custom types. And this is where you would create a category. So these are straight out of the box categories, but let's say you needed another one, say for punch list. You could create one here. You'd have to create type and just select the category that you want it to be in, punch list, and then you would type in whatever that would be. The other thing you can do is if you don't necessarily want it in any of these categories and you want a separate category altogether, you can create your category, then your issue or your issue type under your category. So this is fully customizable.
Awesome, thank you. We have another question about issues, so I'm going to have you stay there. But I just want to remind everyone on the call, if you have any questions, please feel free to stick those in the question module in the control panel. But Ramona, another question that just came in about issues is, can you export a report of all of the issues?
Yes, you can. So we'll come over here to issues, and you would just select them, export. And you can either do an issue summary or a detail summary. And these, you know, you can turn these off and on. I typically will turn these off if I just want the report, but yes, you can absolutely do that here.
Perfect. All right. Another question. This is about permissions. So is there a way that you can assign mass permissions to specific folders and documents? And I think that this probably, the question is like, do I have to type in individual users to assign them to documents or folders, or can I just assign it to a whole bunch of people at one time?
That's a good question. Okay. So if we're on the folder that you want to share, we're going to hit permissions. If you click add, you can actually do it by an individual. You can create roles, and that's part of an admin class, but it's not very difficult. You would assign the roles to an individual, and then everybody that has that role would get whatever permission you're assigning to this role. We typically have BIM manager. So let's say I select BIM manager, and I want BIM managers to have, edit rights to this folder. Anybody that has that role in this project will get that permission. And you can also do it by company. I don't know if you guys caught that, but right here, let's say you wanted to have a folder structure where you have, I don't know, let's say subcontractors that have individualized folders. You could do it by company as well.
Awesome, thank you. And the last question that we have at the moment is the attendee mentioned that on the left side of the project, they see a module called Bridge, and they are curious about what that is.
Okay, so Bridge is a way to share your models or your documents with another project. It's a one-to-one. You can set it to share your model or document as it is today and never update, or you can share it with another project, and every time you update, it updates on their end too. I see this a lot with modelers that are sharing their models for coordination. This is where I see this used the most. That way you're not downloading and exporting and all that kind of stuff. It's literally a one-to-one. What you see on this project will appear on their project.
Perfect. All right, so there is one other question that I see, and the question is, are these options only available in a paid version, or is there a student version? This is all a paid platform. I think maybe the question kind of pertains to like how AutoCAD has had like free student versions in the past. This is an entirely different platform. So everything that Ramona is showing you is from a paid version. So I don't see any other questions. I guess we can give it a couple of minutes, Ramona, unless there's anything else that you wanted to showcase in here.
Well, I did want to add, I know that this is a paid platform, Lisa, but you can get a 30-day trial.
Okay, perfect. Good to know. That is good to know. We actually did have one more question pop in. Are you able to track users' activity inside of a project? So can you see what the users are working on or what they've been doing?
You can go to a file and see, you can see the view file activities, but that's, you really can't, it's by item, not by individual. So I could come in and see if someone has done something to this file or even viewed it, right? But I can't necessarily filter across the whole platform to see what Ramona has touched today, if that makes any sense.
That makes perfect sense. Maybe Ramona, you can hop into an issue and kind of show that like when an issue is created and then when people collaborate with it. So there is a bit of an audit trail. But yeah, to your point, not a way to be like, what has Ramona worked on today? But in all of the different workflows, there's kind of an audit trail attached to the bottom of it.
Right. So in this case, you're going to have an activity log with your issues, and it's listed here. This isn't a very good one because there's not a lot going on with it. Let's see if I can find one that has, okay. So this one has a few things that were changed. You're going to see that it was created, and then what changed, who changed it, time and date, all the way through. And again, these details, you can see if let's say I switch this to pending, immediately the activity log is going to show you that. So it's by item rather than individual.
Perfect. Okay, so those are all of the questions that we've got. And so I guess we can go into, I think there were a couple of other slides. Maybe not.
Lots of good questions. Thank you, everybody. I am going to pull up a quick poll. If you have any more questions or would like one of our team members to contact you, please answer yes, and we will reach out shortly. So I'm going to leave that up just for a minute. All righty. You may also visit our website at microdesk.com to learn more about the products and services we offer, or we can be reached by the phone number or email address on the screen. That will wrap up our webinar today. Big thank you to our presenters, Ramona and Lisa, and thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us. Have a great day.